Ladies and gentlemen, Biggie 988 is still awesome. I wish him well. Welcome to Loreweek. All the lore to fit your week. I'm the lore runner, lore running the lore on the lore channel. Although for some reason, and I still find this funny, no matter how much I identify as lore, I always tend to, basically all of my various terms and names tend to seem more inclined to being called the runner. I don't know. Anyways, did I not have any of that? Oh, I guess I didn't. I guess we'll get to that in a minute. What's up, guys? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Are we here? We good? We good? Testing. Testing. Bueller. Bueller. Anybody? I don't have any little news to talk about this week. As weird as that, I like to start these by just kind of rambling about whatever for a few minutes to make sure everyone can stream in and all that fun stuff. And then I actually hit my topics for the week, and I'm just sitting here like, so I saw a fish! I don't know what to say. How's my audio? Can you hear me with everything going on? Who we have here? We've got Jongo, Leander, Corrales, Greywolf, Lurker, Seend, Darth Tyron, Juanta. What's up, everybody? I suppose I could use this time to talk about something, because I guess it doesn't really... I mean, I have an actual topic about this, but I'm not sure if I should talk about it. Because all I'm going to say is that I don't know when I'm going to be able to do this, and the longer I wait, the worse it's going to be, basically, but I want to do a stream showing off 1, 2, 3, 4, I think? Yeah, 4 separate games on the Switch that I own, that I want to play, and I have been holding back on actually playing until I could stream them. It's like, what the hell? Why is... having a time. And if you look at my website recently, you'll notice that my schedule is booked until about December. That's not even a joke. Seriously, if you look at my schedule, you'll see I've got stuff scheduled up to up to December, depending on how ACOO takes. And the only reason there's not 2 more things scheduled on that, which is the Total War Warhammer 2 and the Yakuza 0 stream, is because I don't know when those are going to happen. It's ridiculous. There's too much stuff coming out. God. That's ignoring the stuff I want to do on the side. Like, I want to finish XCOM, and I want to get back to EU4, and I want to play more Stellaris, and I want to finish going through Stardew Valley. I never actually got back to Stardew Valley. And then there's the Pokemon stream, and then there's the Metroid pseudo-lore run. And then there's the SNES thing I've been wanting to start for literally 2 years now. God damn. Guys, I've decided to quit YouTube. I'm just going to stream from now on. I'm kidding. I would lose all my patrons if I did that, but... oh my god. Yeah, I need to do my remake of FF8 once I take over the world. That's relying on that one. Ridiculous. Oh my gosh, too many good games coming out. Too many games I'm interested in coming out. Oh, I never got to show this off on camera, because I showed it to my viewers Thursday. Check it out. Here's the Samus amiibo, which looks real... I know it's not going to be quite the highest quality there, but you can tell just how incredibly awesome it is. Yeah, I know it's green screening some of it out. Seriously, though, check out the level of detail on it. Love this thing. This is awesome. Unfortunately, it was impossible to buy by itself, so I also have an infestation problem. Scream. I can't do the tone. Anyways. Yeah, I got lucky with those. I was just kind of idly watching them while I was kind of seeing, and one day I was popping on to see if, a SNES Classic was available. And I noticed, I was like, oh, hey, one of those is available for non non-scalper prices, because I refuse, unless I really have a legitimate reason, which I don't, I refuse to buy from scalper prices on principle, because scalpers need to die in a fire. Ah, see, that's why I've got the sound going. You know, you need to tell me this stuff, guys. Now, what's funny is this is as quiet as it can get. Anything quieter than this will actually be muted. But I'm curious how the audio sounds now. Since you're the only one who had an issue, I want to hear what you have to say about this, Mikes. Okay, cool. What to start on? Where do I start? Yeah, this sound, this file, this song, whatever, it's 80 minutes. It's 80 minutes of just this sound effect. It's not looping. It's just someone went out and recorded a storm for 80 minutes. And it's awesome. I love it. The only downside with this file is it tends to put me to sleep. Like, I was sitting here playing WoW, I think, this is like a year ago. And I'm talking to Pax, and I'm just like, I feel myself slowly fading. And Pax is like, dude, what's up? And I'm like, oh, no. And I had forgotten that I had the sound going. And so it was just, you know, it kind of blended into the background. Congratulations. So, anyways. Alright, let's go and get our topics. I don't have anything else to talk about. Let's talk about... Let's start by talking about economics. I know that's always everyone's favorite discussion topic on my show, right? That's all anybody cares about. It's money. Money! Right? Hang on. You see this? This is all that matters in life. Nothing else. You might wonder why I have $1 on my desk. My niece, Minnie Zen, had this and gave it to me as a present. And so I have it on my desk. She was very, very cute about how she gave it. So it just stays right there, along with the other gifts she's given me. So, voice acting strike. Let's talk about that. For those of you not aware, there has been a voice actors strike, let's call it an issue, since early 2015. Little over 2 years ago. And, where do I start? I've actually talked about this before in my show. And I've talked about how this isn't actually as simple of a problem as it seems, because what it boiled down to at the time was the voice actors wanted more money. They wanted something called residuals. I'm not going to bore you with what residuals are. Basically, it means, let's say you do work for a show or a movie, or I believe theater does this as well, right? So it's like, oh, okay, you did your work, you get paid, you walk home, but then if that thing takes off and is very successful, you get a piece of that. This is a really, really basic description, but this is basically what residuals are, right? Basically, depending on how well that project does, you get more money for how successful it is. Makes sense, right? Like, that's understandable, right? Here's the thing. You'll notice I went out of my way to not mention video games when it comes to residuals, because residuals don't actually exist in the video game industry. Like, at all, really. I could be wrong about that. Maybe that's changed. I haven't actually researched this recently. But to my knowledge, nobody gets residuals. The extra money that comes in either goes into the publisher's pocketbook, or the person who owns the IP, or the actual developers, assuming the developers are self-publishing, like through Kickstarter or whatever. That's it. You know, it doesn't, there's nothing in place to disseminate successful games into the people who made those games. Now, let's be honest, this is actually a fairly complicated issue, because video games simply do not actually, they're not the same medium as, you know, everything else. They're not the same medium as movies or books or television or theater. I'm pretty sure theater's on the list, I'm not sure. Anyways, and so you look at this situation and you need to establish exactly what qualifies success, because you can't do based on gross income. You can't do based on, or you could do based on gross income, but you have to have a whole formula for that. You can't actually do based on units sold, right? How do you track units sold? Do you track physical units sold? Now, this is stuff that could be solved. Let's make that clear. But the problem is it hasn't been. Nobody's actually sat down and said, huh. And a lot of people are scared to, because that means law getting involved, basically. And we don't really have a video game guild right now. We don't have a SAG for video games. And that's part of the problem, because it's not like senators sat down and said, we're going to make a law about residuals. No, what happened is a bunch of people, a bunch of unions got together, and we had the SAG form. This is back in, God, I think the 50s is when the SAG really started getting going. But anyways, and they got together, and they pretty much forced things together, like a union does. So we have no SAG, a Screen Actors Guild, if you're wondering what SAG refers to. I talk about it all the time on my television stuff, because it's very relevant to the production of television. But anyways, we don't have a SAG for video games. We don't have a Screen Actors Guild for video games. And nothing's going to happen unless we do, because at least here in the States, I don't know how this works in other countries, as ever, but at least here in the States, without... There's no nice way to say this. We have a system in place where the only way to get this kind of ball moving is to have lobbyists and to have unions in order to push these kind of changes into place. Now, excuse me, all this is backstory. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of insight into where this was coming from. So, a couple of years ago, a little over a couple of years ago, a lot of voice actors really started complaining about how much they were abused at the job. And Lord knows that video game voice actors have always kind of had a bad rap, right? I mean, we all know this. It's one of the reasons why there's so many... Like, I make it a point to actually praise games that bother to treat their voice actors well and really want to have a good voice acting performance, because those tend to be the exception even now, right? Now, here's the interesting thing part, okay? A lot of voice actors got together and complained about the way they were being treated. Now, this may sound weird, but voice acting hurts. I can speak from personal experience on this. Just doing the Loreweek theater stuff destroys my throat. Like, there's a reason... anybody, please tell me at least someone here has watched the Loreweek theater stuff. But if you've heard the voice of Grotus, aside from adding the echo, that's just me. That's just me doing that in my throat. And I have to do this whole thing where I really bunch up my neck and really, in order to get it going there. In order to get that perfect sound for how I wanted Grotus to sound. Because I'm my own voice director on this one. And, so I always have to do him last, because if I do him first, I'm done for like the next hour as my throat recovers. And so a lot of voice actors were complaining because they would put in, this kind of work, and they would really pour themselves into it, and it would literally hurt, and they would be treated like crap, and they would be told to work even, if they weren't on optimal conditions, or they had stressful deadlines, or they were told to rush lines, usual worker abuse, basically. Like, not super abuseful. This isn't like Railroad Barons level, but still abusing, right? So they were like, dude, we need to get this stopped. So they started the ball rolling. Here's what's interesting to me. Because there's the SAG-AFTRA, which is basically the organization that's been running this whole... Yes, scened. Although that was actually unrelated, but yeah. So SAG-AFTRA is the organization that's been pushing this for the last about a year and a half at this point. And if you actually read all their press releases and all of their actual lobbying and all of their actual strikes and the companies they're striking and all that, the one thing they keep bringing up over and over and over and over is the residuals. Yes and no, Tigzar, is the answer there. But yes, no, there is, basically that is a possible solution. I actually agree with you. That might be a possible solution, to just recognize video games under law, with regards to actors as the same as movies and cartoons, because that would work. There's a reason why, even with this strike on, voice actors for cartoons and movies have had no problem getting work, right? Anyways. Anyway, so they all talk about the residuals thing. I already kind of discussed with you what residuals are and how that works. And what I really want to get into is my impression, okay? I have some facts for you, but I'm going to go ahead and get my impression out first, because the moment that the actual union got involved, there was a merger that happened. I'm not going to bore you with that. Merger, people, blah, 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 SAG-AFTRA, they start pushing this, and it's like, we want residuals. We want our voice actors to get residuals. We want more money. Money, 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 money. Like, that's all they would talk about, right? You can look it up. But that's all they would talk about. So that's fact. That's all they would talk about. But on my end, I'm looking at this like, why is that the big issue? So for those of you not aware, within the last few weeks, SAG-AFTRA has come forward, and they apparently have reached an actual conclusion to the strike, and the strike is going to be terminated. I was kind of sitting on this news point for a bit, just to 100% verify, because at first it was like, we might have a solution, and then they were like, yes, this is our solution, and so I wanted to make sure about that first. Now, here's the weird thing. Here's what they got. So they get this bonus thing, right? The way this works is, you know what, I don't remember the exact details, and I didn't write them down. Basically, they get a bonus amount of money depending on, you know, the amount of times their role is reproduced, or how much they do the role, or whatever, right? It's not residuals at all. It is instead more of an upfront thing. That's why they call it the bonus. And you get this extra amount of money based on circumstances such and such. So voice actors are getting more money. Yay. With that. One other thing that was agreed to, and I should pull this one up. I'm sorry. I got to read this word for word. You're going to love this. I really should read this word for word. Give me just a second. Video game companies must provide additional transparency for roles voice actors are to perform under the new terms. While they do not need to name the game or character to maintain confidentiality when offering roles, they must provide actors with project code names, gameplay genre, if the work is based on an existing franchise or character, and whether or not the work will include profanity, racial slurs, obscure technology terms, sexual or violent overtones, or physical stunts. Go ahead, just process that for a second. If you want me to summarize it, I can. What that means is they are going to be required to, when they put out an advert, say, this is the job you're applying for, rather than just an advert. Because before now, for those of you not aware, and I actually knew about this, I've only brought it up a couple times. Before now, they would just say, here, we need a male voice. Or we need a male voice who can go deep. Or a female voice who can sing. That's it. And of course, voice actors, like most actors, don't actually decide themselves. They have agents who take their jobs for them. So that's another layer of separation. There are actually a couple of voice actors who have stated on record that they would get a project through their agent, and they'd show up at the studio, no idea what they're voice acting for, until they sit down and read the lines. And even then, sometimes they're like, I don't know what this is. And then they walk away. You know? And that's it. That's the negotiation as of right now. You notice there's something missing in that? Anybody notice something missing in this so-called agreement? Mo-caption is such a heated topic amongst Hollywood. It really shouldn't be. Yes, exactly, SJ. This is one of the reasons why voice direction is so important. It is the voice director's job to inform the voice actor of what they're doing. Yeah, the health thing! The health thing wasn't even mentioned. Now, I shouldn't say it wasn't even mentioned. I apologize. The actual wording, and if you here, I'll pull up the actual wording right here. Give me just a second. Blah 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 blah. Yada, yada, yada. Does not include anything about the treatment of voice actors or provisos or, for the throat issue. Nothing about that. Yada, 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 yada. Come on, where's the line? I'm trying to find the exact wording. Basically, what they said is, we'll work on this in the future. Transparency. I don't care about transparency. Here it is. Sorry. This is such a throwaway line. The deal also contains an employer commitment to continue working with SAG-AFTRA on the issue of vocal stress. That's it. That's all. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just, this is why I think this whole system's kind of messed up. Like, I have been asked in the past, where's my stance on unions? And it's very much a yes and no, good and bad kind of situation as far as I'm concerned, because unions can and have accomplished good things, and then they can and have do nothing, or worse than nothing. I mean, I've seen it all at this point. In my own life, I've seen that happen. Within my lifetime, never mind going back historically speaking. So, yay. Now, it is worth noting that thanks to the malleable nature of strikes, this strike could be extended. Darth Tyron mentioned something about that earlier, and I do want to address that. As of right now, the ink's on the paper, but it's still wet, which is a weird phrase, which gets into weird stuff. But the basis of this is they still have the right to say nah and not do this. They still have the ability to be like nope and continue the strike and just keep going with it. I have no idea what's going to happen at this point. Here's the other problem. This is the real problem here, in my opinion. A couple of people, not a lot of people, and I wish I had time and effort and resources to do this myself, but a couple of people have gone and tried to do impact studies. In other words, sit down and say, what effect is this having on the industry? Those two groups, I should say, who went out to do impact studies came back basically inconclusive. As in, it doesn't really seem to be causing as big of a stir as it probably should be. And I think that's a fairly reasonable part of the problem there. Because, I mean, we could sit here and say, not having voice actor A, B, and C work for companies X, Y, and Z is a bad thing. But when you're a person in a suit, in a tight meeting room, who've never even heard of the games you're making, and don't care, and you're like, all right, give me the bottom line. That bottom line is going to come to you from someone who is looking into those impact studies and say, well, we don't really see any big impact on it. And they're going to be like, oh, okay. Whatever. So we'll see where this goes. But I imagine, this is again my opinion, that the lack of feasible impact has caused a rather significant... it basically has hurt the voice actor's position on this one. Hey, Friendoka. So, with that sunny topic behind us, Forthog? Excuse me, can't read my own thing. What should they be doing about vocal stress? That's easy. Take care of them like you would any other performance actor. Like, if an actor on a movie has an illness, they help take care of him, especially because, this is funny, if you think about it, from a movie's perspective, helping him to get better or helping her to get better as quickly as possible is in the movie's best interest. Every day a film crew does not spend filming or working on a film is a day in which they are basically burning money because they have to keep renting the sets, they have to keep renting the equipment, blah, 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 right? All that money is just being burnt with no cost. So they, now this varies, but, especially if you have a A-list or a B-list actor in a movie, They pull them out, they get them to the hospital, they get them checked out, they get them, in a nice room with the atmosphere and the what do you call it, the mist, the warm mist crap to help out their throats, Make sure they have lozenges, all that crap. Tea, There's actually specific tea. In fact, I have it right over there, which has been recommended by quite a few voice actors. In other words, they do something really basic, Chocolate Rob. They take care of them. Now, they don't have... I'm not saying voice video games have to go that far, because that's obviously on movie budget, which is in La La Land. But something, right? Especially since voice acting can be pushed around in the schedule more than an actor does. Now, the problem here is that I think... This is opinion again. Sorry. This is another opinion. The problem here is that, remember how I just mentioned the movie's losing money if they don't take care of their actor? A game isn't losing money if they don't take care of their voice actor. Not really. Voice acting can be moved around the schedule with relative ease because it can always be topped in whenever it is done, basically. Unless they're at the final stages of development, in which case their whole production schedule is screwed anyways. You get me? So, in my opinion... I don't think developers and especially publishers are, shall we say, incentivized to take care of their voice actors. It's just like, yeah, do whatever. Come on, let's go. Anyways. So I said, I gotta change my timestamp now. Damn it, man. Hang on. Let's talk about Forthog, the Orc Slayer. Anyone know what I'm talking about before I even get into it? My nose itches today. Yeah, exactly, Lurker. So for those of you not aware, Forthog has been shifted over and turned into a free DLC. The people who already bought the DLC have been refunded, and they're stating that they're still going to go ahead and donate money towards the charity for the gentleman in question. That's basically all I'm going to say with regards to that, because that's actually only a partial topic to the real topic I want to talk about. So they pulled back because they pushed the bubble, and the bubble pushed back. That's the actual topic I want to talk about, because I want to talk to you about Bethesda. Anybody hear about the Creation Club? I'm sure all of you have. I've been asked for weeks why I haven't commented on it yet. Don't worry. This all ties in together. So, some of you... Let me just go ahead and start by saying the reason I haven't talked about this is I have nothing to talk about with regard to the Creation Club itself. There's nothing to say there. Okay? Dumb, stupid, moving on. You know, there's no discussion. There's no argument to be levied. It's like someone walking up to you and saying, "Excuse me, sir, do you agree that water is wet?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." "All right, now talk about that for 15 minutes. Like, I don't have anything there. No, but what I do want to talk about is pushing the bubble. I know I've asked this exact question many times on my show. Who remembers Horse Armor? Who was actually there? Who was actually part of the video gaming community during Horse Armor? I was, obviously. I'll go ahead and raise my hand on that one. Now, Horse Armor is the same as the Creation Club. Because, for those of you who weren't part of this, or maybe even for those of you who were and haven't really sat back and thought about this, at the time, in the gaming community, the idea of charging... It wasn't just... The Horse Armor itself wasn't really the big deal. The really big point was the fact that they had a full-priced, AAA production, Oblivion, And then they were charging DLC for it, and that was considered completely unacceptable. Nobody was okay with that. You already get where this is going, don't you? Pushing the bubble is something a lot of companies do in entertainment as well, but in service industries in general. And what happens is at least one company every now and again sits back. This is actually a corporate policy. This is something that's been going back to the 1800s at least. At least one company who is doing okay financially right now, you know, debts are covered, we're flush, they push the bubble out. They're testing its tensile strength. Now, obviously, this is an analogy, but you get where I'm going, right? They see how far they can push their customers. And so one company sits down and says, and depending on the pushback, this either becomes unacceptable, and they pull it back, like with Mr. Forthog, or it becomes normal. Like the fact that DLCs for full-priced games is so ordinary nowadays that most people don't even bat an eyelash at it. I mean, yes, people are still upset about it. People are still angry about it, of course. I've even asked questions on my Loreweek saying, you know, here's a game, paid DLC, what do you think, regardless of all other things? And most people said that they would be upset about that. But it is normal now. It's not like it's this big problem. It's not like this, oh, that's unacceptable. And everyone's doing it. Well, I shouldn't say everyone, excuse me. A lot of companies are doing it, and most of those companies are getting away with it. Because Bethesda pushed the bubble, and it didn't break. So Warner Brothers Studios, who is, I'm just going to say this as bluntly as I can, a very disgusting studio that actually personally offends me on many levels. If it wasn't for the fact that it's Shadow of War and the fact that I genuinely believe the developers put out a good product, I would be not playing that game, but anyways. Warner Brothers decided to go ahead and push the bubble a little bit. We're going to go and do this thing, toss out this DLC, and we're going to charge for it. And interestingly enough, it was decided that that was unacceptable, so they backpedaled on that one. But that's exactly what Valve tried recently. You remember that one? You remember when Valve tried to push the thing into Steam with the whole paid mods thing? You remember that? Now, I think Valve is actually kind of a unique case. Forgive me for segueing from my own topic for a second here. I think that the thing with Valve is that they have access to the possibility of more actual player feedback, more customer feedback than most people do. Most companies have to live with, like I said, a guy in a suit getting a report from some other guy in a suit to determine feedback, right? Valve has a strange... is in a strange position to be able to actually have people who can sit down and say, okay, let's start reading the feedback forums. And all you'd have to do is have, like, say, 10 people. Let's really lowball it, okay? 10 people have to sit down and read the feedback comments and quotes and decide which, and just sort them. This is not valuable feedback, and this is valuable feedback. Have an actual person on it. Boom. I don't know if Valve does this, by the way. This is just theoretical. But they have that possibility to do that. And we know that there's such a thing as garbage feedback on Steam because review bombing is a thing. But my point is, Valve has their finger on the pulse of the PC gaming market more than anyone can right now. They have access to that data. And so you notice that that was taken back pretty damn quickly, wasn't it? Now, as several people pointed out, that was, of course, also related to Bethesda. And I predicted at the time, and I hate to be right sometimes, that Bethesda would make another attempt at it. Because they tried for literal paid mod avenue. Nope. Okay. And they took a half step. Now, people have argued back and forth the banality of definitions regarding whether or not the Creation Club is paid mods or not. And there's just been a lot of weird back and forth on that. I'd like to quote Peter Hines really quick, if that's okay. Preface. I don't like Peter Hines. In fact, I dislike him more than other people at Bethesda. I know a lot of people like to spit venom at certain people at Bethesda. I can't even think of the names right now. There's the writer dude, and then there's the Todd Howard. Hines is the guy I hate. Just point that out. Anyways. Quote, "You have to understand that one of the reasons that this is not a paid mod is that they're working for us. It's a job," he said. "They're not getting paid only if stuff sells. They're getting paid like an external contractor all along the way." Scroll down a bit. "The risk is removed for Creation Club contractors because they're paid and treated like a real external developer working alongside us," he says. "They want to go do mods in their free time. Well, they still can, because this is a job, and that's mods, and the two just aren't the same." Scroll down a little bit more. "This was all the same concern, by the way, when we said we were doing mods on Bethesda.net," referencing when they added the database built into their own platform, which is garbage, by the way. "And what was the big outcry? Oh, they're trying to shut down the Nexus and everything else. Did that actually happen? Are you having trouble finding mods on the Nexus? Is there a shortage of those?" "No. People can continue to do whatever the hell they want. It's modding. Play the way you want. Create what you want. Go nuts." I wanted to make it clear that what was a quote of his and what is me speaking, so I just went to the first accent that came to mind. Sorry, guys. Anyways, that's Peter Hines. I mean, do I even need to keep going? Do I really need to? So what they've done is they're pushing the bubble again. And you notice we've already got some feedback thing. Now here's the really interesting thing about bubble pushing. Bubble pushing. Hey, Victory Coffee. Patreon, Victory Coffee. Patreon I get a larger take on, but thank you for enjoying my stuff. I appreciate it. So he's trying to make... Okay, rewind. The point of bubble pushing is there's always pushback. Of course there is, because the entire point of bubble pushing is to try and see what the consumer will tolerate. It's not about giving you more service. It's not about giving you something new. It's not about treating you in a right way. It's not about adding value or any other bullcrap. The only reason to do this bubble pushing concept, that again goes back to the 1800s, the only reason to do this at all is to try and pull more money out of their customers for basically less putting in. That's its entire function. So there is always pushback on bubble pushing, right? There's always some resistance to this. And sometimes the bubble just bursts. We've seen this in recent years. We've seen this all over the place. But what matters is the level of pushback, because what you'll see companies do, and what you're seeing Bethesda do right now, is they pushed, and there was a lot of pushback, so they pulled it back a little bit. Because this is such a classic scum move, in my opinion. It's the whole... I want to sell you guys a dice. It's $50. And you guys are going to be like, "No, God, no." "Oh, you're right, I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was thinking, putting it that high. I'm going to put it down to $20. Now, most people will look at this and be like, "Well, that's still not worth it." But then I'll put it on sale for $5. And because I've gone through this process, I've gone all the way up from 50 to 20 to 5. This is only worth 2 cents. So I'm making money even if I sell this for $1. But because I've done this process, because I started ridiculous and pulled myself back, people buy into that. And it's just a nature of human psychology. This is related to anchor valuing, which the game review, I can't remember their name, they did a thing on this recently, but this is related to this concept, where we look at something, and because they have stepped up to us, because they've reached out to us, because they're trying to meet us and our demands, and trying to be more helpful to the consumer, blah, 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 right? You see this all the goddamn time, in almost every aspect of business. So that's what the Bethesda's doing right now. Boom! Paid mods, Creation Club. Spam it in your face, right? No? Okay, that doesn't work. Alright, we'll make it so that it's not automatically installing everything on your hard drive. Yay! Right? You know, inching it back so it seems more reasonable. Now, there's something else I want to talk about, and I don't want to get into the full specifics of it, because it gets into some programmer crap. all I'm going to say right now is that if you mod, so they're using this whole thing. It's an ESL format, right? And this ESL format has some benefits, but mostly negatives when it comes to mod development, right? Oh God, I was actually going to pull up the actual forum post about it, but the forum is currently looks like DDoS'd if I'm looking at my network correctly there. So never mind, I can't actually give you exact numbers. So I suppose you'll just have to take my word on this. I'm not making any of this up. You can look it up yourself in your own time if you feel like it. Here's the down low, okay? Any given mod has to have a certain number... Oh, is it on our Discord? Hang on, I'll pull up our Discord really quick. Give me a second. Any mod has to have a certain number of forums, okay? And ESLs are read-only. These are two very important facts here, because ESLs are limited to 4,000 forums, okay? Hang on, where... Ah, there it is, there it is. Yep, there it is. They are limited, ESL files are limited to a budget of about 4,000 forums. Now, unfortunately, it looks like the other information I wanted here is not listed. Because there were a couple people on the actual Bethesda forums who were discussing the realities of what that meant and how many forms most quests use, you know, quest mods and stuff like that. And it was in the 6-digit range. In some cases, it was in the 7-digit range for the really big mods, like Enderall, for example, right? Absolutely ridiculously huge amount of forums in order to do that kind of stuff. ESL limited to 4,000. Now, I'm going to parallel this to another factoid, okay? All I'm talking about right now is facts. There was a mod that someone recently looked at that said, I'm going to buy this mod, and it was listed on the thing as a quest mod, or excuse me, quest DLC, because it's not a mod. Quest DLC. Now, he picks up the thing, and the quest was, you know, quest log pops up, go to X location, loot weapon, quest complete. Now, how many of you would define that as a quest? See, the problem is, that's about as far as quests are going to be able to go under this ESL limitation. Because, believe it or not, setting up the gun itself, doing the quest thing, the pop-up, the trigger for it, there's actually a separate thing, the actual location marker, the dynamic location marker, if they do that separate. I don't know if they do that separate in Fallout 4, I'm not sure. And then, you know, looting it to complete the quest is more than it sounds when it comes to forums, at least, when it comes to doing this kind of stuff. So that's about as far as any actual, shall we say, content DLCs are going to get. And you see the problem here, and this is really a problem, because one thing that has been said many, many times is, you know what, if they give us good meat, if they give us good content when it comes to producing these DLCs, these mod-paid DLCs, whatever the hell you want to call them, okay, you know, I mean, I myself said this. If I could say, here, I'll buy Enderall, I'll buy, what's the frickin' one in Oblivion? There's a really good one in Oblivion. Elsewhere or something like that? God, I can't remember it. But anyways, you know, if I could sit down and pay for that kind of content, I probably would. Because that's a gigantic mod with tons of awesome quests and awesome content, blah, 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 right? Done. Nirim, there's another good one. You know, if I could pay into that, yeah, I'm okay with that. But as you can see, as it is right now... Oh, it was Nirim was the one in Oblivion? And Elsewhere must have been in Skyrim then. Anyways, as you see, the problem here is they can't do this. They can't actually do that kind of content as things are now. So, this is skins and armor and weapons, and that's pretty much it. That's the cap. The artificial cap that's been listed. Now, I want to go ahead and explain something here. Some people have been wondering why the hell they go into this ESL thing. Would you believe it's for legal reasons? I'm serious. I mean, yes, let's be clear, there is definitely some bubble pushing going on. I don't want to try and distract from that. That's my whole point. That is literally the entire point of this discussion right now. You know what, I don't even feel like going into the details. I'm sorry. Long and the short of it is that in order to have a paid DLC built-in format that is simultaneously available on PC, Sony's platform, because that's what matters, it's the Sony part, and the Microsoft platform, which isn't actually much of an issue. This is mostly a Sony issue. They have to follow certain restrictions and guidelines. And you can probably already see what I mean by legal issues. So, yeah. Now, again, I am not excusing what's going on here. It's just, I feel like this needs to be pointed out because there's more going on here than just naked stupidity. There's naked stupidity, and then there's garbage in addition to naked stupidity. We got to make sure we cover the whole gambit here. Now, people have sat down and done the numbers on basically how to make this actually work. The problem here, let me ask you a legitimate question for everyone in chat right now. I want you to imagine that, let's say a year from now, they've fixed the Creation Club, it's releasing good, awesome content like Enderall, like the Oblivion one I've already forgotten the name of, like Elsewhere, right? Real, genuine, meaty DLC additional content, right? Regardless of other factors, are you going to be inclined to buying it at that point in time a year from now? Excuse me. Excuse me. No, I mean specifically from Bethesda. Specifically for Fallout 4 or Skyrim or whatever. Do you see the problem that exists? Because, as of this point in time, even if they did it right, there's already a massive negative bias there towards doing it right, which means sales are going to be hurt. Now, here's the fun catch-22. The only reason for Bethesda to actually decide to do this right is if they sell well. You see the problem here? Because it has been posited that if Bethesda did this right, which they actually have the tools and ability to do right now, they could gather together their modding team, the people they hired. By their own admission, they hired these people full-time. These are not, you know, they're paying them per mod or DLC or whatever. They pulled these people into the envelope. They pulled these people under the umbrella and are now paying them a daily salary. Put them into a team and get them to all work on one mod or DLC or whatever term you want to use. It doesn't matter. One creation. Okay? Have them all put together and working on that and put out something actually good and reasonable. Okay? And then people buy that, and then that would establish the idea that that's successful and move forward, right? That's the idea. That's the defense, is that they could do that. Now, they would have to, basically, as things are right now, unless I'm missing something, that would have to be PC only. Because it's just not available right now for that to be on the PlayStation. I don't know what's going on with the Switch. Microsoft would probably be cool with it. So it would probably be like PC and Xbox. Maybe the Switch. And there's also some issues with releasing different types of content for different systems, which could cause issues in countries that are not the United States. Germany comes to mind here, so that might not happen at all. But let's assume best case scenario. So they sit down, get this team together, start putting real content out, have to do a new format, because again, the ESL thing will not work for that. Now it has to sell. That's the problem. Because it has to sell for it to be worth it to the people who make decisions. The money people. I've said that so many times. The money people. And Josh the Josharian is not a money person. Hey, dude, what's up? You get my point? I bring this up because it is my opinion that this was never an attempt to push out a new actual service or a new concept or trying to do what Bethesda themselves have said they wanted to do. Their defensive line almost universally has been, we just want these content creators to get paid for their work. They said that back when they did it with Valve, and they're saying it now at the Creation Club. But that would not be true. That is not true under the circumstances that exist now and the method by which they're rolling it out. Basically, this is just me proving my point. I am proving that this is bubble pushing rather than actually trying to do something. Because, let me just go ahead and say, I actually think that idea could work. Not the bubble pushing thing. No. I mean, get down, hire a group of people whose only job is to produce additional DLC content. Real content. And just keep them going with it, right? I think that's a good idea. I'm amazed that basically no one has done this. I really am. Like, nobody tries to do that. Instead, what we have is a situation where we produce Skyrim, and then the same team that produced Skyrim produces Vampire one. I can never think of the name of it. Dawnguard, I think. And then the same team that produced the previous two produces Dragonborn. And then the same team needs to get on to the next project because it's an entire development staff, so they push them over onto Fallout 4. And they stop development of DLCs. I cannot be the only person who thinks that actually having a dedicated DLC team is a good idea to help elongate the life of a game and to bring more energy and interest into it. I cannot be the only person who thinks that. Seriously. I mean, I don't want us to stay in DLC land for forever. That's going too far in the other direction. We do need to have the main development team move on to new content. I do agree with that idea. But the whole reason we only got 2 DLCs for Skyrim, and they didn't cover some of the other topics they were going to do, is because they had to push the main team over to Fallout 4. I mean, I mentioned earlier, you know, if an actor gets sick, and they're burning money, right? Every day that actor is not on set, they're burning money. Believe it or not, that does actually apply in a weird way to video game development. Because, development team, right? Let me rephrase this. Let me take this step back. An in-house development team. That's important because a lot of developers do external contract work and then fire a bunch of people when the project is done and then hire a bunch of people when they do a new project. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an in-house development team like Bethesda Softworks has, okay? You have an in-house development team. There's a lot of people who make a pretty decent amount of money. They make more money than I do, individually. That's for damn certain. So you have these people here. This is expensive to keep working. If you have this working on this little DLC over here, you are not being efficient. You are basically burning money to accomplish that. That is just fact. That is base accounting economic fact. So I get the idea that after a certain period of time, they have to move this development team over to something larger, like a new release. You know, it's something that can then justify their expense of continuing to function. Not something like this. Hence, separate studio. Or separate development team, I should say. It doesn't even need to be that big of a team, really. Anyways. Yeah, you know what? Sega did do that. You're right, Max Time. I didn't even think about that. Hang on, I'm reading chat. I've been ignoring chat for a second because I've been on a rant. I apologize. I've been ranting all over the place these Loreweeks. I really do apologize. The rant runner. Yeah, so, yeah, it is Sega. Yep. Anyways. By the way, welcome to my stream, Josh. Sorry, you kind of caught me in the middle, mid swing here. Don't be a stranger. I love interacting, reading, talking, chatting. This could still work. I'm sorry, this could still work. It actually irritates me. Let's move on. Let's move on. What am I looking at? Timestamp. Jeez, I've been talking for way too long about that topic. Oh my god. Let's talk about Assassin's Creed Origins. Nobody? Nobody wants to talk about Assassin's Creed? Okay, let's not talk about it. Screw you, I'm talking about it anyway. So for those of you not aware, I am doing a premiere run of Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, let me go ahead and say, the rant runner, let me go ahead and say that I am a pretty big fan of Assassin's Creed. Unlike John over here, who's only played 2 of the games and didn't like them. No offense to him, actually. I get that. But I have found, in my experience, that the Assassin's Creed series has actually gotten better over the years. Go ahead, hate me. It's all right. I really do understand. Yes, I do remember that, Tigzar. I'm aware of that. Now, go ahead. It's okay. Obviously, there are some exceptions. Assassin's Creed 3. I'm going to go ahead and speak in defense of Assassin's Creed Unity. And I know that's just painting a big old target in my head. But one of the things I find really interesting is that I've only really heard 2 types of complaints in the internet, right? Not from people who are actually sitting down and having a real discussion, just the usual complaints. You know what I'm talking about, right? When it comes to any work of fiction, there's like the usual complaints that everyone tosses out when it comes to the internet, right? The Hobbit movies, they're too long, the books were short, right? You know, it's always I can't think of another example off the top of my head, but you know what I'm talking about, right? There's always just the usual complaints. The complaints about Unity were, oh, it's buggy, which it was, absolutely. And the present timeline was just an excuse. You know, that's it. Those are the 2 points. Now, I liked Unity. I haven't actually played all the way through it. Hands up on that one. But I thought Unity was actually astonishingly well done and probably one of the better looks at the French Revolution period that I've seen in a fictional format, possibly ever. And I mean that with total sincerity. One of the really weird things that the Assassin's Creed studios have done for quite some time is they do their homework. Like, they will, of course, make it a fantastical setting because there's these super advanced aliens and superhuman people and all that, but they do their homework. I have always praised them for that. Now, hang out with me for a second here. Also, I will also speak in defense of Assassin's Creed 3, although I felt it was lacking in several areas. Some of the specific scenes of Assassin's Creed 3 are actually, in my opinion, some of the best scenes in the entire series. I also talked about this during my Assassin's Creed Rogue rumination. I understand that some people just have fatigue. Sorry, my nose itches. I'm just scratching. I understand fatigue. I get that. I know that some people are just like, ugh. Because each Assassin's Creed game, in terms of gameplay, is basically another Assassin's Creed game. The only ones that really tossed that mix-up was 4, and that's it. So, well, that's not true. 2 and 4. 2 and 4 are the only Assassin's Creed games that really jumped forward. You know, 1 to 2, and then I guess it would have been 3 to 4. So I get that. So I understand the fatigue thing, and I'm not going to speak against that. I don't have the fatigue problem. I consider myself blessed to not have the fatigue problem. You know, if I like something, I'm going to like it again. Now that I've gotten all that out of the way. So I'm actually looking forward to Assassin's Creed Origins. It looks like the next jump forward. You know, I mentioned 1 to 2, and then 3 to 4. I think this is going to be a jump forward. I think they're actually going to legitimately change the Assassin's Creed format. Now, I know not all of you saw my E3 live presentation, but as I was watching E3, I was like, oh goody, Assassin's Creed Origins. And I was just basically like, yep, whatever. And then they showed gameplay. And then I was my reaction just went like this. Like that was just how the shift happened to me as I was watching the actual gameplay. And I'm like, this actually looks fun. Like, this looks interesting. Holy crap. And it went from to, I'm doing a premiere run of it. I've already bought it. I've already paid for it. Because I pre-order if I know that I'm going to buy a game. Yeah, that scene right there, Brekor, was a phenomenal scene. One of my favorite scenes in the whole series. Anyways, and yeah, they showed a lot of gameplay. Like, even at E3, which is known, which has a thing, and I myself have bashed over and over and over about being this whole thing where they will not show actual gameplay or anything that matters a damn to actual gamers. They sat down and just played the game for half an hour. I was just like, oh, that's awesome. Anyways, and they have shown more gameplay since then. Obviously, they've actually shown a lot of gameplay since then. But the point remains, right? I haven't actually gotten to my real topic yet. Forgive me. So, I totally understand why a lot of people aren't interested in it. I am hopeful that this is the next jump forward, like I already talked about. But they're doing something else that is such an obvious idea, I'm actually a little surprised no one's been doing it before. They're including something called Discovery Tour. Now, how many of you have heard of this? I wouldn't be surprised if most of you haven't. I've almost nobody has really been talking about this. I'm going to wait a second. Got to wait for Twitch lag to catch up here. Don't go Google it. Did you already hear about it before I mentioned it? Yeah, Ptolemy, Egypt. It's a cool era. Pretty much right in the... I guess this is, what, one generation off from Alexander the Great? I've seen some nopes over there. Wow, we have a lot of Twitch lag today, don't we? That was like 40 seconds or something. No, you don't like rain, Mike Romano? I'm confused. So, Discovery Tour is a mode in Assassin's Creed Origins. No gameplay. Well, I'm sorry, let me take a step back here. No combat. No plot. Now I know what you're thinking. That sounds terrible! Hear me out. They have hired actual historians and teachers who are experts on the Ptolemy era, which I hope I'm pronouncing right, of Egypt, who will, and you can just sit and run around in the game to all the areas that are in the game, and there will be snippets and dialogue and text from those actual historians explaining and talking about the culture and the society and the politics and the technology and all of that. Tell me that doesn't sound awesome! I mean, forgive me. I'm a big history geek. So it's probably pretty obvious. And I hope to see you there, Josh. But yeah, it's a history mode. It's a history mode. You just get to play the game in history mode and just learn about Egypt in the Ptolemy era. Or the Ptolemaic era, however the hell you're supposed to freaking put it. Yeah! I'm sorry, I'm jazzing about that. That's such a great idea. I'm actually a little aggravated that it's received almost no press coverage. Like, no one's talking about this. They announced this like a week ago at this point. Like, yeah, Discovery Tour. And I'm like, dude! Yeah, we're like one step away from being able to have a history holodeck. Actually, we're like 5 steps away, but it's the point remaining. So, anyways, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm sorry for gushing. So, like I said, I was already sold on the game. The gameplay looks phenomenal. The era is interesting. You know, everything, pretty much everything post Alexander the Great has always been a fascinating era for me personally. This is awesome, and I think that they're doing this. I think that this is a great idea. I legitimately do. This is a side topic, but for those of you not aware, there are teachers in universities and in high schools who are trying to push for usage of interactive video games, basically, as a teaching tool rather than textbooks. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen right now, but the idea of my niece, when she hits, you know, the age when she's actually going into a thing, and playing Assassin's Creed Origins Discovery Tour mode to go learn about Egypt, that sounds so awesome to me. But again, I'm a little bit of a history geek, so what do you want from me? So, I kind of just wanted to signal boost that fact, and to kind of explain why it is I still support the Assassin's Creed team. Not Ubisoft. Ubisoft has no idea what they're doing. But the Assassin's Creed development team has actually, in my opinion, been doing really good things, even up to the modern era. And that's one of the reasons why I started with that bombshell, that I think they've been getting better. Because I think that developer team has been getting better. And I do. I do. Target painted. Bring it. I think you told me about that, Tigsar. Let's talk about golf. Anyone out there play golf? I actually have some really fond memories of golf. Legit. The idea of going out there, taking your time. That being said, I have to be honest, most of my fond memories of golf are my memories of being with my dad or my grandpa. I don't remember much about the golf itself. You ever heard? I'm sure everyone's heard the quote. You know, golf is a nice long walk spoiled by a small little white ball. Right? I'm sure you've heard that quote. But the funny thing is, and this is not unique to me, although this is, of course, from my own perspective, in my experience, most people don't actually enjoy golf itself all that much. They enjoy what comes with golf. So, there's a golf game on the Switch that I bought this morning. $15. Boom. Done. I bet some of you know what I'm talking about. It's a golf RPG. Did anyone remember when they first talked about Gwent coming out as an independent game? Anyone remember that? I actually did a Loreweek section just about that. And I sat down and was like, you know, this is a great idea. And I went on this whole rant. I imagine most of you don't remember it, so I'm just going to summarize it really quick. It boiled down to, why can't we have RPGs with other forms of gameplay? To me, the idea of playing an RPG where the combat is settled by a card game was awesome. I referenced Puzzle Quest when it came to that. Now, granted, Puzzle Quest was not that high quality of a game. But it was the same concept. It was an RPG, it's just when you start doing the puzzle, you play Connect 3. With me? And I said, why don't we see more of that? At the time. Because in my opinion, you can do so much more with the RPG genre than just, you know, turn-based or action. Everything seems to revolve around that, right? Turn-based or ARPG. You could do more with that. My opinion. So this is a golf RPG. It's an RPG. It's just the gameplay side of it happens to be golf. And I loved that idea so much that I bought it on faith. I haven't played it yet. It's one of those games, excuse me. It's one of those games that I actually want to stream. Get my reaction alongside the stream. Oh, forgive me. But I really want to try that. I really want to see what they do with that. Because it's, again, because it's my opinion, forgive me for reiterating here, that we don't need to limit ourselves to the ATB, excuse me, the turn-based, the ATB, or the ARPG. We can do this. We could do more with this. Just my opinion. I mean, God's sakes. You know? We've already seen what is effectively an RPG RTS. We saw that with Warcraft 3. I'm doing it live, Corrales. Some year, when I have time. I have so many things to stream, it's ridiculous. I really do want to play it. I really do want to try it out. I don't think we need less turn-based RPG to quit. In fact, I'm with you. We need more XCOM RPGs. My opinion. And I mean that with total sincerity. We need more XCOM turn-based tactical RPGs. We need... And I also agree that we shouldn't have the traditional RPGs disappear. Octopath Traveler is an excellent example of a fairly traditional turn-based RPG. It's basically the Bravely Default system, and it's awesome. Boom. Done. There you go. You know, that's good. I'm glad we have that. I also think we should continue having ARPGs, Kingdom Hearts style. I'm totally with that. Don't mistake me. I still want the traditional stuff. I really feel like this is a market that hasn't been explored. Every time I find a game that stretches out what you can do with an RPG, it's the exception, you know? It's the rare occurrence. It's like, oh, hey, there's a that, and it shines out. Yes, there's this huge storm. Brickor, it's everywhere. Oh, God. They're killing me. It's killing me. Here. Fine. There. Just because everyone keeps complaining. I have absolutely no interest in Cuphead. Zero interest whatsoever. It looks disgusting and horrible to me. It probably plays just fine, but the aesthetic makes me want to vomit, so no thank you. I don't like old-timey cartoons. Never have. Yeah, Mass Effect XCOM? I'd be with that. That sounds awesome. No one? No one? I mean, anyways. Sounds of Sun... I don't have Sounds of Sunshine. A medieval-themed XCOM RPG. Have you played Expedition Viking, Datalore? If you haven't, go play it. It's an awesome game that I really, really, really want to keep playing. I really do. It's another one of those games that I want to keep streaming, and I just haven't had time. Star Wars XCOM, Star Trek XCOM. Yeah, every time I stream XCOM, we get on this discussion of what else we could do. A football RPG. That's coming out. Not quite, I should say, but the new Madden... You're all going to make fun of me, and I don't care. The new Madden looks legitimately interesting to me. It's a full story campaign mode Madden football game. And it looks pretty awesome. You basically start off as some kid fresh out of high school or college, I forget which, kid. And, you know, you get your lucky break. And it's like, dude, you know, and it's this whole story arc as you're going through it, and it's awesome. So, of course, I haven't played it, and I probably won't anytime soon, because why would I? I have 7,000 other games to play. There's also the football RPG, which already came out. I heard some really good things about that one. A friend of mine has played that one. Sorry, European football game. Shrug. Anyways. I'm out of topics, so of course we're going to be going back to Divinity Original Sin 2. I am going to take a brief break, so I'm going to pause now to go ahead and eat lunch a little early, so I don't have to pause in the middle of the game and start getting all... But, I will be back. I've done a few things. I hope at least some of you stay for Divinity Original Sin 2, because I got a couple things to show off. I did a couple things off camera. You'll see what I mean. Anyways, yeah,